Southport triple murderer Axel Ridicabana murdered 3 innocent girls with a knife. A kitchen knife, indeed one that can probably be found in every kitchen up and down this country. A knife that so happened to be purchased from Amazon, despite the killer being only 17 years old. This should not have happened. But does this mean that Amazon is now to blame for this horrific attack? Does it mean that kitchen knives are to blame for this horrific attack? Well, some of our politicians seem to think so. Hello and welcome, I'm Emily Carver and you're watching GBN Originals. Now, the revelation that the knife was bought from Amazon has provided the perfect distraction for our political class. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper described it as a total disgrace that Ridicabana had been easily able to order a knife on Amazon. So, what did the government do? Instead of addressing the real issue that authorities totally failed to protect the public from this murderous young man, we focus on the weapon of choice. As if he couldn't have found a kitchen knife anywhere else besides online. Maybe even his own family kitchen. He might have been able to find one. Now, typically, as well as looking to crack down on social media, of course, in response to this tragedy, the government has already announced plans to implement stricter measures for online knife purchases. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has proposed a new system requiring 2 forms of identification for simply buying a knife online. Now, under these new requirements, buyers will need to provide documents such as a passport or a driving licence, along with a live video verification of their age. It's quite incredible, really. This 2-step verification process would apparently aim to create a more robust barrier against underage purchases of dangerous weapons, but at what cost? Now, Amazon, the platform from which Ridicabana purchased the knife, has launched an urgent investigation into the incident. The company does state that they take their responsibility around age-restricted items extremely seriously. Clearly, something went wrong. But the attention on this issue of Amazon selling the knife, of kitchen knives being too readily accessible to people, is that the problem? Is it kitchen knives that are the problem, or is it the people using them as weapons that are the problem? Earlier, we spoke to our Home and Security editor, Mark White.
This seems like an interesting focus for the Prime Minister, the availability of a knife that I'm sure all of us have in our kitchens, rather than perhaps some of the deeper questions there.
Yeah, well, the fact was this was a kitchen knife. OK, he bought it over Amazon. There should have been checks to ensure that the delivery of a knife was to someone who was over the age of 18. Clearly, there's a weakness in the system there. But the fact is, it was a kitchen knife. He could have gone into his own kitchen and taken out a similar knife at any point. The end result would have been exactly the same. But of course, it's a talking point, and a talking point that many others in the media seem to have latched onto as a particularly concerning aspect of this whole episode, and I'm not sure that it is the most important or indeed an important element of the crime that happened in Southport on the 31st of July last year. There are horrific feelings, of course, from various agencies who were alerted to the violent mindset of this young man and his very public desire to carry out a school massacre, who failed to respond in any meaningful way to that violent mindset. And then add to that the response from the police and the Crown Prosecution Service, and of course the government in the aftermath of the attacks, the lack of real information regarding some of the key details about this individual that really just created this void that was filled by rumour and speculation, anger and suspicion that the public were not being told the whole truth. And then the confirmation, of course, came yesterday from the Prime Minister and later from the Home Secretary that that was indeed the case. But they had done that for very good reason, because they didn't want to prejudice any upcoming trial.
We also spoke to Dr. Alan Mendoza, the Executive Director of the counter-terrorism think tank, the Henry Jackson Society.
Did the government miss the point here, talking about Amazon rather than terrorism?
Yeah, I mean, they missed the point on that score because, of course, you know, the issue is really the motivation of what was going on rather than the tool. They've also missed the point, as it were, by also looking at, you know, sort of, we must look at social media as a point, rather than looking at the many referrals and the many times authorities could have intervened to stop him along the way. And the most extraordinary thing is that all of this is, in a sense, not easy to understand. I mean, this was not the government in charge at the time. It would have been quite easy for the Prime Minister to have made a decision to say, look, we messed up, the authorities messed up. It wasn't on my watch. I'll promise to do better. I'm puzzled why he hasn't taken that track at all and instead gone down this extraordinary rabbit hole of trying to pretend these things aren't happening and that actually it's all Amazon's fault.
Yeah, it's utterly bizarre, isn't it? We've been here many times before. I mean, we're just hearing today about the crossbow killer. Of course, the immediate response was to try and ban crossbows or make it more difficult for people to get hold of crossbows, as if he couldn't have used another weapon. But Alan, Kemi Badenoch didn't go on this today in Prime Minister's questions. What questions could she, in a parallel universe, have put to the Prime Minister today?
Well, she could have easily have put, the question you posed earlier. I said, Tom just said it. Why didn't you reveal the information you revealed in October, in August, and stop the riots, essentially? But look, the riots were caused by, people, there were bad people out there who were determined to cause violence. But the approximate reason for them firing up was because of this lack of information being provided about the case. Now, we now learn that the government knew entirely what was going on at that point in time and chose not to reveal information that it then subsequently did reveal before the trial anyway. That was the point of, again, an inflection point that could have been pressed on the Prime Minister and asked why you decided not to do that. You made the argument that, contempt of court, etc., or, you're going to prejudice the trial. Fine. We understand that. And there are sort of ways around that, we think, as well. But let's focus on the very basic stuff. You knew things about Al-Qaeda training manuals. You knew he was watching beheading videos. You knew that he had, sort of an interest in all these activities and was talking about ricin back in August, within days of the crime itself. Why didn't you reveal that? Because had that come out, I think that would have acted to, diffuse a lot of the pressure that was out there, where people felt there was a real cover-up going on. It turns out they were right. There was a cover-up going on.
And that is the most shocking thing about all of this. Just how much, the government knew early on and how much was missed in the 3 or 4 years before this attack. We now know that this is someone who had an enormously violent disposition, who had attacked people at his school with a hockey stick and attempted to attack others with other implements. Apparently his father stopped him from getting into a taxi to go to a school wielding a knife just a week before it happened. How on earth were all of these signs missed? And it's just failure after failure after failure. And we just see today politicians wanting to talk about anything else.
So that's what the experts have to say, but I want to know what you think. Is the issue the knives? Is the issue Amazon? Or is the issue the people using the weapons and the authorities that ignored all of the warning signs about this murderous killer? Well, this is Emily Carver. Don't forget to subscribe to GB News YouTube channel for more videos like this. Give this video a big thumbs up and leave a comment.